Welcome back to Track Talk. Today we'll be doing another game of 1871. I didn't really intend to do a game tonight, and specifically didn't really intend to do 1871, but then I saw this one in the recent games played, and it had some interesting features as I was looking through it, so I decided to just go ahead and make the video. This is a four-player game, as you can tell, so it's going to play a little bit differently, particularly the auction, than the game we did yesterday. And the other thing that I liked was that the short line is Alberton. So that's the company that I was kind of dogging on a little bit in the last video, saying I didn't think it was very good. And I'm curious to see what the players get up to and if they're able to make something of this company or not. So with that brief introduction aside, we're going to start the game off with Jose. And the other interesting thing I noticed was that Jose's position in this auction strikes me as being pretty bad. So he's got all the kind of interesting privates, none of the share privates. So he's got the Union Bank and Iceboat Shipping is the new private in the four-player game that we haven't seen yet. And then the other good privates, the concessions, are right next to him. So, he's not going to end up with the Union Bank. He's not going to end up with either concession, probably. And he's going to end up with a ton of pier, it looks like, because he's got four piers that he's going to be bidding on. So to me, that seems like a pretty rough start for Jose, but we'll see how that goes. For now, he's going to put up the Union Bank first thing. Ursula going for 125. Pilar and her will be bidding. Looks like Pilar takes it for 140. Ursula now putting up a company, a private, and we'll be putting up the peer share. Looks like Pilar passes and Jose is forced to buy it. So this is what I'm talking about. This auction looks kind of rough for Jose. I'm anticipating them ending up with a bunch of peer shares. We'll see if they're able to make that work for them or if they're able to avoid it somehow. Pilar offering up another peer share, and Rebecca's going to bid on that one. So Jose actually looks like he's interested in the peer shares and loses out onto it to Rebecca. So the peer is being split by those two players right now. Rebecca's going to put up a share, be the Georgetown. Jose's passing, and Ursula's bidding on it, so it's going to go to her. Jose back around now. We'll try and keep this moving. Going to put up merchants. This is a short line exchange share. Looks like it's going to bid up a good amount, actually. Pilar will take it. Ursula taking the rail, or not taking, but putting up the railcar ferry, and that's a mainline share. Rebecca ends up with that. Pilar is going to put up another pier. Rebecca bidding on it. So Rebecca's been running a little bit of a buffer for Jose. I was worried that Jose was going to end up with, 80% of the pier here. But it looks like maybe not. Rebecca is getting a decent percentage here. She's putting up the Murray River, and Jose's going to pass on that. Ursula passes on it as well. Pilar is going to be forced to take it. So the pier is ending up a little more distributed than I was fearing. That's good. Jose offering shipbuilding. This is another short line share. Ursula's going to bid and win it. Ursula puts up a concession, the short line concession. And actually, two players pass on it, so Jose ends up with it. This is interesting. This is really defying my expectations. I was not anticipating him getting any good privates. Pilar's up and is offering the private that gives you the single straight track. Jose's interested in it and Rebecca's not, so he takes it. Rebecca taking the Vernon Bridge, another short line share. And Jose is kind of accumulating a decent presence in that company and goes up to 60 for it. Okay. Now offering the new private Iceboat Shipping. So this allows you to exchange for shares that are not the short line or the main line. Pretty flexible. Looks like actually Pilar is going to win it. Okay. Ursula is offering the mainline concession. It gets a little hard to commentate because the game starts to skip when people don't have enough money. So it looks like Ursula put up the mainline concession now, and Pilar was forced to pass. Rebecca wins it. And this is what I'm talking about. It gets hard to follow here. So Jose is passing on the Hunslet, and Ursula is forced to take it. And then the Royal Agricultural Society, I think that's the last private up. Jose is going to pass on that. That's a Charlottetown share, a mainline share, and Ursula's going to take it. So all the privates have been distributed. It got a little chaotic and hard to follow there. So let's just see what the end state is. The pier is going to be owned by Rebecca, or at least run by Rebecca. It's evenly distributed between the remaining three players. And then interestingly, she has actually ended up with the mainline company as well, at least for now, unless people try to buy it away from her. But they don't really have money to do it. Even Pilar would only be able to afford a single share, so should be safe. Looks like Rebecca's going to be in the driver's seat of this game, at least for the early part. Um, and then the Alberton is owned by Jose. I think we commented on that. Doesn't have enough money for a third share, but I believe does have the ability to exchange. Yes, the Alberton here. So could get a share that way if he wanted. Looks like he's going to pass for now. Everyone's passing except for Pilar, who's going to buy another Charlottetown. And we'll be into the first operating round. Okay, so two companies operating, both run by the same president. Interesting start. Charlottetown is heading towards the double dit and buys two 2Hs. Pier, operating out of Murray River for now, is going to buy a single 2H, which is the only thing that they could do. You could limit it in the pier. We're into stock round 2. Rebecca passing. Jose going to buy a Charlottetown. Going to have decent revenue with the two H's. Ursula also joining on that. Pilar passing. Looks like everybody passes, so stock round 2 is over. We're into operating round 2. Charlottetown is continuing to head west and is laying some pretty expensive track. Looks like they're trying to get this $40 dit, and they will lay a token to run it. So pretty expensive to lay all that track, but does end up giving them $90 of revenue, which is decent. Buying a lot more trains, so actually buys away into the 3Hs. We're still in yellow. I'm going to be running 4 trains in that company. Pier, now laying out of the Summerside hex and also the Georgetown hex. Pretty expensive tile lay there to run just a single 2H with, and not running either of those tracks. So going to pay for 50 and buy a 3H. And because these are run by the same presidency, it looks like they are actually buying trains out of the C. So they're going to be able to exceed the limit on buying a single train with the pier as a result of this. I suppose this is why we're seeing them lay all this track, because now with 3 trains, they're going to be able to take advantage of all this. Unless somebody does something about it and floats one of those companies. I'll have to see if anybody has money to do that. It's going to be kind of hard. And actually, they can't, because the short line still hasn't floated. We were forgetting about that. All right. Well, the pier is going to be pretty lucrative in the next operating round then, probably. Rebecca is selling out of the sea. Looks like that's actually a dump. Ursula is going to become the new president. I don't know that that's that bad for Ursula, really. It's got a train. It's got $400. It's got good map position. Has all this track. Maybe this token is not so good. Okay. Regardless, the dump occurs, and now Rebecca has $300 they got to spend somehow. Really kind of limited in what they can do with it. Just basically have to invest it in the short line. Is this a move to take over the short line? Could be. She's going to buy a share. Union Bank's going to buy a share. Pilar's going to buy a share. And Jose's passing. Ursula buying a share as well. So the Alberton's definitely going to be floating up. Or not floating up, but selling out. Rebecca passing, actually, not buying shares. So interesting. Dump the Charlottetown, and then really didn't invest that much cash. All right. Alberton, let's see. They're heading west and going to buy 2 trains, 3 trains even. Wow. 4 trains. Okay, that's pretty aggressive. We'll have to see if our first rusting event happens here then. There's 1 4 train left, so is anybody motivated to bring it out? The pier is train locked. They're not going to be able to do it. So it's going to be up to the Charlottetown to buy 2 trains if they want to rust it. And honestly, pretty reasonable to rust it, right? Deny them the run of 3 trains. Seems pretty good. C is not going to lay any track. Okay. Not buying a train, running a train. Buys the 4, but doesn't buy the 5. That's interesting. So the pier is getting a little bit of a break there. Has track for 4 trains, I'm sure. upgrades Murray and is going to run for 180. Rebecca has 40% of that, so pretty good revenue for her. I'm very surprised that the Charlottetown didn't rust those 2 trains. All right, well, everybody has a little bit more money now, and I believe there is an open slot on the tranche, so let's see if Jose is able to take advantage of that. Going to sell out of the Charlottetown and start the Murray River. So that's the track that the pier was just running down in the southeast. Should have no trouble floating that. The Union Bank already has a share of it, so just needs 30% more. Rebecca. And actually, Jose is going to exchange a share for the Alberton as well. So I think maybe he was worried about losing the presidency, so he's going to defend that. Rebecca buys the Alberton. Pilar is going to use that new private that we didn't see yesterday to buy a Murray River. Ursula passing. Jose buying more shares to float. Rebecca's really kind of pressuring for the Alberton presidency, but since they don't own the exchange share, which who owns that? Is it shipbuilding? Yes. So Ursula owns that. Not going to be able to steal this presidency unless somebody were to sell. But because they're right behind Jose in priority order in the stock round, even if somebody sells, Jose will be able to defend if he wants. Pilar passing, Ursula still passing. Jose now floated on the Murray River, and that changes the pier percentages, but not the president. Okay, Rebecca's still running that. Looks like everybody's passing, and we are into operating round 4. Alberton's first one to operate is going to head towards the $20 dit, taking advantage of the single straight lay. Does have 4 trains somehow in this company, which is hilarious. But unless it tokens in Tignish, is not going to be running all 4 of them. So it looks like they're not going to spend the money for the token just yet. Running 2 trains for 110, and is going to withhold it. Not able to buy any trains since it's train locked still. Charlottetown, upgrading its home and running 2 trains for 130. We still have not seen anybody buy this 5 train. Now we see it. I think they probably should have done that last time. I don't know why they waited a operating round to do this. But now it's going to buy 2 of them to make up for lost time. So out of cash in that company. Murray River, first operation. And looks like they are laying the double dit and then going to head west, maybe hoping to get into Charlottetown. Going to be a little bit of a circuitous route to get there, of course, since there's no straight track. Buying a 5. Are we going to see a 6 too? Not yet. Going to shuffle a train out of the Alberton to open up train space there, it looks like. Piers up. And you got to upgrade Georgetown. Now just running a single train. Running for 50 and paying it. Does buy the 6, so the 3 H's are going the way of the dinosaurs. And we're into 4.2. Yes. Charlottetown, 3 trains. The track is still a little bit underwhelming. I think that this token here is not really doing it any favors. Looks like they're heading over to Peaks and are able to run 3 of their trains for 210. Pays it out and does not buy a train. Alberton slowly building itself a little network of track here. Revenue is pretty poor at just 80, but that's more of a function of just running 1 train. Going to withhold it, surprisingly. I guess it's a split presidency. Is this dumpable? Does Jose have priority in Rebecca? No. Okay. So withholding for trains later in the game, buys the 6. And is it going to get a 2+ too? It not yet. Okay. So maybe going to buy the 2+ in the Murray River. Running just a 4H. Has a lot of money though, so maybe going to pick up several of these 2H's. Working on creating a big loop so it can run into this $60 offboard, but have to be in brown to take advantage of that revenue, so it's going to be a while still. But for now, just running the 4H for 70, withholding it, and does buy the 2+. Does it buy more than 1? Looks like it. Okay. That brings us to the pier, last company to operate as usual. upgrading track out of Summerside and is going to run at 6H. Where's it running at? Looks like out of Somerset. 460, buying another 2 plus, and we're into stock round 5. Let's take a moment to look at the game state here. We've been kind of moving through things quickly. Looks like Ursula is the president of the Charlottetown, has a very minimal investment in that company. Charlottetown's running pretty well with 2 5s, but those are going to rust, as all trains do in this game. And then it's going to be struggling to afford a company or afford a train. The Pilar player is seemingly without a presidency, has pretty low investment, but that's because they are the Union Bank player, so this is misleading. Has 3 more shares than we would expect. In terms of net worth, starting to fall behind a little bit, and really doesn't have that much cash in the stock round, so maybe struggling. Is operating second, and there's an open tranche, so with very heavy sale, could conceivably float a company if they wanted. Rebecca, peer president, and minority investor in the Alberton, splitting that presidency actually 50-50 with Jose, and then also has a share in the Charlottetown. A lot of money, second most in the stock round, so does have some options. I imagine Pilar will not be floating a company, so maybe we'll see Ursula and Rebecca do it. And then Jose, 2 presidencies, Murray River, and then the Alberton, with some shares in the Pier as well. Um, Actually in third right now in terms of net worth. So not out of it, but not running away with it by any means. Ursula, first up, is going to use their reserve share and then probably, I'm assuming, going to sell both of these to float. Well, sells one and starts the Georgetown. Georgetown, let's just look at its map position. Hasn't had a lot of track laid for it yet. Is probably going to have to make a beeline to try and get over to Peaks and Charlottetown, I would imagine. We'll have to see if it's able to succeed in building itself some runs. Pilar selling down and is going to buy the Murray River. I guess with 2 pluses seems reasonable. Rebecca selling and sells heavily out of the Alberton as well. What are they going to float? Looks like they float the Summerside. Summerside, I think, also has not had much track laid for it, um, but does have a pretty obvious link up with this set of track here. So may see a little bit of a race to see who can get there first, Georgetown or Summerside, in terms of tokening in Charlottetown to get a presence in the map, center of the map. Looking at the map right now, I will say that the map seems a lot more disjointed in this game than in the one we did yesterday. Obviously Alberton is all the way up here doing its own thing, but because Mount Stewart hasn't floated or operated, the center of the map is just a lot less linked up and congested than it was in the last game. Murray River is running a separate network from Charlottetown as well, and then a lot of these companies just haven't floated yet, so just seems a little more less developed track than the last game. Regardless, Summerside was the choice from Rebecca. That brings us to Jose, who is going to buy a Murray River. Ursula working on floating the Georgetown. Pilar selling out of the Murray River and is going to use that money in the Union Bank to buy the Summerside, helping that float. Rebecca working on the Summerside float. Jose almost floated, actually not a player that's floating, just further investing in the Murray River. Ursula working on the Georgetown. Pilar, Summerside still. Rebecca backtracking for the Murray River. Doesn't have to rush to float the Summerside, I suppose. Jose, last share for him. Alberton. Ursula is buying the GT. 1 more share there. Pilar. Looks like they have floated the Georgetown with Ursula, and that is going to change the Pier ownership. But actually, sorry, it doesn't change the Pier ownership, but does change the distribution of shares. So Rebecca's ownership percentage has been climbing throughout the game steadily. Rebecca is going to float the Summerside and now owns 100% of the Pier. So we'll have to make that work for her. The track for the Pier, as usual, is kind of underwhelming. Does have decent trains with the 2 plus, though. So we'll see. But yeah, literally doesn't have track to run right now. the Mount Stewart and the Saurus have no track laid for them, so that's a little bit unfortunate. I think we're going to see her lay the Saurus track first. That's the more obvious way of running two trains quickly. With 100% of the revenue, you really want to take advantage of that. There's no guarantee that that lasts very long. Someone is going to eventually float either Saurus or Mount Stewart, and or well, actually, if they just float one, it really doesn't change things from the peer's perspective. You still have 100% of the revenue. It's if they float both companies, which is very conceivable, that you would then lose that share. Jose passing, Ursula passing, Pilar passing, Rebecca still buying shares, and up to 60% of the Summerside, bringing us into operating round 5. Charlottetown's first up, and Charlottetown is Ursula's company, so may want to cooperate with the Georgetown to try and get this company track in Charlottetown, or token in Charlottetown, earlier than the Summerside. Should be possible to make it happen. And then who else is running multiple companies? Rebecca's got the pier and the Summerside. Not going to be able to really cooperate too much with those two, other than, I guess, shuffling trains around. And Jose's got the Alberton and the Murray River, so also not a whole lot of synergy between those two companies in terms of track development. Pier, instead of helping the Georgetown, is actually going to upgrade Hunter River. Wasn't expecting that. Running for 160, pays it. Summerside is making a beeline, I guess, as much as you can make a beeline. I thought they were going to head towards Hunter River and Charlottetown, but it looks like maybe they're instead prioritizing getting into this off-board. Are they going to have a long enough train to run that? Are 3 pluses available? 2 plus. So 2 plus isn't going to quite get her to the off-board, but if buys a 2 plus and a 3 plus, we'll have pretty good runs. 2 plus and a 3 plus is exactly what we see. Great. All right. And Charlottetown had 2 5s, which means they're going to be falling back, so that's pretty bad for Ursula. All right. Actually buys a third train too, so it has 2 3 plus trains, and probably at least one of those is going to be making its way over into the pier. But the pier track really needs to be developed for them to take advantage of that. All right. Georgetown is buying a train with the Hunslet steam engine, so buys it in for 200. It's going to lay track. Interesting. So neither one of these companies, the Summerside nor the Georgetown, is interested in Charlottetown. That is unexpected for me. I would have thought at least one of them was going to be trying to get that token and take advantage of the track. Doesn't look like it though. Gets the 3 plus and is actually going to run for 50, so doesn't have to fall back as a result of their private. Buys a 4 plus as well, so out of cash in this company, but these trains are not going to rust until the D train comes out, so if there's a stall, we'll have pretty good runs for a while. Murray River running 2 pluses and going to upgrade its home to run for 250. Going to withhold that. Does it buy a 4 plus? It does. All right, so we're almost at the permanent trains, and maybe one of that train anyways because the Alberton is trainless. I think so far Alberton has not been breaking my preconceived notion. Has not really been a very amazing company in this game. So falling back trainless buys a 2 plus from the MR, and with a 2 plus still is not going to be able to make it into this off board here. Okay. Pier laying Saurus as expected and runs a 2 plus for just 40, which is pretty bad. I mean, there's no denying 40 not being an amazing revenue, but if you own 100% of it, it's a lot better than you would think. So as long as their trains don't rust, which I think we're going to be waiting a while for this 2 plus to rust, or definitely the 3 plus, but I think the 2 plus has got some legs on it too still. The revenue in the next operating round may be pretty good for them actually. All right, Charlottetown Trainless is going to be upgrading its home and buys the 7. So just having said that the 2 plus is going to last a while, they immediately rust. Okay, classic. S Train or S Company upgrading its home and did end up with a 3 plus, but isn't going to be linking up with the offboard just yet. Okay, so it's just running for 80. And we are in brown. Correct me if I'm wrong, with the 7 coming out. Yes. So why would you not lay a gentle curve here and then run your 3 plus up into England? Is that strictly better revenue? Am I missing something here? Is there no gentle curve available? Is that possible? No. Um, hmm. Well, I'm still learning this game, so I'm hesitant to call it an error, but it certainly seems like one, unless I'm missing something. Paying out for 80. GT is up and links up with the source track. Going to run both of his trains for just 100. Murray River, upgrading Belfast, and running his 4 plus for 200. Pretty good. He's going to withhold and should be snagging a 7, I assume. Yep. Alberton, again, trainless, is going to buy the 7 out of the Murray River. 7 train in the Alberton, is that good? Feels like you're going to be hitting a ton of dits with that. But I guess your options are a 7 or a D for a late game train, so maybe the Murray River's going to run the D a lot more efficiently. 7 trains just really struggle with these dits. Pier, upgrading Saurus, running a 3 plus for 150. See, this is what I'm talking about. So now that the revenue is actually something to appreciate, the 100% ownership of this company is really quite nice for Rebecca. So the Pier, while it doesn't seem like it's very good to be the president usually, there are these kind of times where it's pretty lucrative. Regardless, we're into stock round 6. Jose somehow has basically no money. I think the Alberton maybe fell back both times. Let's see. Uh, yeah, Alberton. Wow, Alberton hasn't paid out a single time in this game. I don't think I realized that. We haven't been looking at this screen very much. Neither has the Murray River. So that's why he's got no money. Both of his companies haven't paid out a single time. He's been brutalized by this train roster. So not a whole lot of options for Jose here. Neither of these companies look like they're dumpable and can't really afford any shares. We'll see what he decides to do. He's going to sell out of the Murray River pretty heavily and invest his cash elsewhere, it looks like. Buying the Georgetown for now. Ursula also, well, not also, but buying the Charlottetown. That makes sense. Secure the presidency, has a permanent train, decent track. Pilar buying the Alberton, also permanent train. Rebecca buying the Georgetown. Jose buying his Alberton. Ursula passing, Pilar passing, Rebecca buying the Charlatan. Jose, last share for him is going to be in the Georgetown, so that company looks like it's going to be floating up. And Rebecca, last share for her, presumably is going to be the Alberton. Looks like everybody passes. We're into operating round 6.1. Pretty short and sweet operating round there. And in terms of who that benefits, I have to give an edge to Rebecca here, right? Nobody floated any of her peer companies, so she's still got 100% of that company. And since no new companies floated, it's unlikely we're going to see a big rush in trains to bring out the D train and rust her 3 plus. So she's got 100% revenue of that 3 plus. Just ready for her. In terms of shares, she's also leading the way in shares. Got to be a little bit careful not to ignore the Union Bank, though. But still only 9 shares for that player. So I think a stall here probably benefits Rebecca. I guess a slow game in theory also benefits the Union Bank. It's another stock round where the Union Bank can pick up a share, but that player is looking to be pretty far behind. Not necessarily net worth. The net worth is actually pretty even here, but just in terms of map control and game presence, they don't even have a presidency. We should also think about priority here. Believe there's 3 tranches that are going to be available. So Ursula, Pilar, and Jose look like they're going to be in a position to potentially start new companies in the next operating round. Rebecca's going to miss out on that. All right, Charlottetown, upgrading Hudson River. Still not interested in getting their GT into this other track. I guess the GT is running okay through the Saurus track, so no rush there. Running for 180 with the 7 train, paying it out. GT is up, upgrading its home, double tapping that, so reasonable. Running for 250, that's pretty good. Summerside is going to upgrade their home. And we commented on this before. I feel like they should be running into England. with their 3 plus, but really not in a rush to do that. So running for 110. If they ran England, this is 130 just between those two tiles, not even accounting for this tile in the dit. Hmm. There must be a reason. Usually when I'm berating a player for not doing something, it's because I'm missing something. I don't know what it is though. Paying 110 for now. Murray River, single 4 plus, does manage to link up with the Charlottetown track finally. Is it going to token there? Probably should, right? Doesn't look like it. Running for 260 though. That's pretty good. And is going to withhold. So Jose has been withholding this entire game. Alberton, 7 train, links up with the offboard and runs for 220. Finally pays out. It's like Jose's first payout in the entire game, and we're in operating round 6. That's pretty incredible. Pier running a 3 plus for 200 and is getting 100% of that revenue. So this is what I was worried about for the other players, is that the game stalling here with 100% ownership of the pier is pretty powerful for Rebecca. Ursula operating the C and is going to make moves to link up with the Summerside, it looks like. Running for 190, pays it. GT maybe heading down to Murray River, running for 280, and looks like they pay that. Summerside finally links up with England here, and now is running for this. So this is what I don't get. This is something that probably should have happened 2 operating rounds ago, and really unclear to me why the revenue there was not being optimized. Okay, runs for 200, pays it. Alberton upgrading Tignish, running for 230, decent compared to the rest of the companies. Murray River is finally going to get a token over in Charlottetown. Okay. And I think, this is a kind of unique feature of 1871, but basically what they're setting themselves up for here is bypassing this DIT. This is a really weird track that I don't think exists in many titles, but eventually it's going to upgrade with a straight across this way, and then they don't have to account for this DIT in their runs. It does kind of look like the Murray River is going to be eventually running a D train though, so I don't know if that's really all that important. Runs for 260 and withholds. Buys a 7, so I take it back. Doesn't It's not going to be running a D train, so it makes perfect sense to be bypassing these dits. So Jose is the first player to meet all their train liability, and we have 1/7 left before that D train comes out. But I don't think we're going to see the Murray River get to run it. Looks like it's going to be operating after the newly floated companies, and we have to assume at least a couple of companies float here. So Rebecca running the 3 plus again and is going to run for 200. Pays it out. Last operating round in this set. Okay, I forgot that we had 3 operating rounds, so maybe the Murray River will get to operate before the D train comes out. Charlottetown, still working on linking up with the track to the west, and is running a 7 for 190. GT, not sure where they're hoping to get. I think there is valid track. Is it like the 23 or something like this? 45 or 46 will get him into the Murray River home track. So there's going to be potentially a little bit of a competition between these two players for this upgrade. We'll see what happens there. Runs for 310 and withholds, but doesn't buy train. Summerside heading west, presumably. Running for 200 again, withholding. 7 train in the Alberton. Looks like Tignish is max upgraded now. Running for 260. Murray River actually doesn't upgrade it the way we were expecting, and instead of giving itself a straight run into Charlottetown, is going to give itself access to Georgetown and Souris. Okay. I guess with 2 trains, it makes sense to give yourself 2 routes. So it's going to be running for 530. First really kind of good run in the game. Took a lot of withholds to get there, but now is going to be reaping the rewards, it looks like. Pier running a 3 train and is able to take a bunch more dits now. So is actually up to 220. So Rebecca has had 3 runs at 100% of the pier now, um, and is quite far ahead as a result, leading by $600 in net worth. Um, in terms of shares, is first. Okay. So that's operating round. Operating round 6 was, I think, pretty big for Rebecca in terms of partner ahead in this game. We'll see if she's able to hang on. I think the pier is going to be going away because I imagine 3 companies are going to float here. So the Saurus is the first one. Ursula's going to take that. Pilar is going to just use their Union Bank to buy a share, not being floating the company. I think Rebecca's probably pretty happy about that. Jose, actually, nobody's in a rush to float a company. They're just buying paying shares. We'll see if this stalls still. Rebecca, yeah. So 2 players not floating companies. Interesting. Murray River is being bought up. It does have pretty monstrous revenues, so reasonable to do that if you're not going to bring out the D trains. Pilar buying the Alberton. Jose getting up to 50% of the Murray River. Rebecca buying the Charlottetown, pressuring that presidency a little bit, but Ursula defends. Pilar buying the Charlottetown as well. That company's floating up. Jose is splitting the Murray River, so this company did have a token in Charlottetown. That's a pretty valuable token. And the way the map is developing, if he splits this and puts the new company here, maybe I'll snag a token in Murray River's home and really start cutting this map up. So that's pretty good. Also is going to get a lot of new capital in his companies by splitting instead of starting a peer company. Does this mean that the peer survives? I suppose it's possible. If Mount Stewart doesn't float, then Rebecca's going to retain 100% of this peer company, which seems like it would be pretty bad for the other players. Does she just win if that happens? Maybe. So Belfast, and he took the token we were expecting, so may see a Belfast token drop right here. Splits the trains between the 2 companies, and both companies, the Murray River and the Belfast, have a decent amount of cash. Interestingly, leaves most of the cash in the Belfast, even though that has the permanent train. Murray River is going to need to buy a permanent train, but didn't leave much cash there. Okay. Rebecca buying the MR. Looks like everybody's interested in the MR still. Pilar is going to buck the trend and go for the Belfast. Jose buys the last share in the MR. And still nobody is interested in floating that last peer company, the Mount Stewart, or splitting, it looks like. So maybe we see the peer survive. Belfast being bought. Ursula, Saurus. Oh, this company's not even floated yet. Wow. Pilar is selling out of the Summerside and will buy the Belfast. Jose, Belfast. Rebecca, Belfast. Looks like everybody's interested in that company. Ursula is slowly working on floating the Saurus. Pilar is passing. Jose, Belfast. And that company's sold out. Rebecca is passing on a lot of cash. She is at her cert limit. Ursula buying the Saurus. Pilar seems to be out of this stock round. Jose, he is going to be the one to float the Mount Stewart. I'm not sure if he really wants this presidency or if he just really doesn't want Rebecca to have a 100% share of the pier. But it looks like the pier will be going away. So these 2 new companies should be floating. And looks like the only people taking actions are, well, Rebecca still has something to say. She bought a Saurus. Or she didn't buy it. She just got it as the conversion. So I think Jose is the only one doing stuff still. Move through this a little bit. And the pier has now closed. Looks like Jose still has things to do. He's buying his Alberton. Or sorry, selling his Alberton for a Murray River. Rebecca is also kind of messing with her portfolio a little bit. Jose buying, actually selling Georgetown, buying the Charlottetown. Rebecca. So these 2 players are really min-maxing their portfolios here, it looks like. Charlottetown has been sold, and Murray River's now floating up again. Not entirely sure what the logic in that last flurry of actions was, but I'm sure the players had reasons for it. Charlottetown is first to operate, and I hope we see a D bot here because I don't want to continue commentating this game much longer. All right, Charlottetown gets into the offboard and it's going to run its 7 train there for 260. Pays it and doesn't have to worry about trains, so really no reason to be withholding. Georgetown, on the other hand, does need a permanent train. Going to run its 2 trains and is going to pay it. Pretty good revenue there. Alberton runs for 260. Doesn't look like the Alberton has any interest in laying any additional track. In theory, could lay the $60 track, but doesn't have money to lay the other $60 track, so I guess it's going to be stuck in the corner. Murray River. Not sure where they're heading, but they do drop a token in Belfast. So I'm assuming that we're going to see double tokens on either Murray River or Belfast from Jose between his Murray River and Belfast branch to start cutting up this map. Murray River's withholding. Does he pick up the last 7? He does. So should be seeing a D train pretty quickly here. Belfast branch running a 7 train and is going to lay track for his friend, the Mount Stewart, it looks like. Does token in Belfast, so trying to divide the map in half. And I suppose had to do this in Belfast as opposed to Murray River because Murray River's actually been bypassed already. So Murray River wouldn't have blocked anyone. Runs for 260, withholds it, should be bringing out a D here, great. So game will be ending in 8.3, same as last time. And this means that there's going to be a rush on these last rank of trains, it looks like. Summerside only has $260 and is going to snag the Charlottetown token, so that's a nice pickup for them. Does buy the D and has to out-of-pocket that quite heavily. So I think Rebecca was the one that we were thinking was going to be in first place. But as a result of out-of-pocketing that train, is now trailing Ursula. Okay. Ursula, however, is also going to be falling back on 6 shares and has to out-of-pocket a train here. So does pick up the D in the Saurus, and then Mount Stewart has track courtesy of its friend, the Belfast branch, it looks like. Gonna pick up a D as well. So everybody should have trains now, I think, except for actually the Georgetown probably doesn't. Yeah. So almost everyone has trains. Charlottetown running a 7 is going to block the Mount Stewart, it looks like, from getting access into the east of the map. Runs for 280, pays it. Georgetown, last company to buy trains. Not sure where they're heading. Buys the D. Alberton, still not laying any track. Gonna run for 260, pays it. Murray River upgrades Georgetown, so sets it at 3 holes, so it's not going to be tokened out. The only person with access to this track is the Belfast branch and Murray River, which are both his companies, so should feel secure in those routes. At least for the foreseeable future, it's going to be a while before anybody can get over there. And Mount Stewart is his other company, so could run some interference up north here to prevent that link up. Murray River laying Georgetown as noted and runs for 290. Buying a train out of the Belfast branch, so Murray River is going to be running 2 7s, it looks like, and the Belfast branch is going to run the D train. Belfast branch has very good tokens and map control, can run from Elmira all the way up into England, it looks like, so it should be a pretty good run here. 710, wow, yeah, that is a very good run. So Jose spent the first half of the game withholding, but is making up for lost time with these monster runs. Only bad news for Jose is that he only owns 40% of this presidency, and 2 other players own 20%. So, yeah, not going to be running away with the game on the back of that, probably. Summerside, not sure where they're heading, but also has decent track. running for 370. It needs to, I suppose, link up with the Alberton to get access into this higher revenue track. The only problem is that all the track she lays is going to be taken advantage of by these other companies as well with the D trains. So I suppose if it's laying track towards Alberton, needs a token there too. See if they're able to make that happen. Summerside, done with the operations. Saurus, not sure where they're heading, but running for 420, pretty good. Mount Stewart was blocked, but actually this block is going to be pretty ineffectual, it looks like, because with a sharp turn is going to get in to this track anyways. For now, running for 260, and actually this track here is allowing it to bypass the blockade at Charlottetown, so it actually has a decent run. Okay, better than we were expecting. Last round in the set, Charlottetown is creating a loop here, and this is going to bypass Belfast, so now has access into Georgetown. But why is it not running that? Oh, I see. It doesn't have access yet. It's going to have to upgrade here still. Running for 280. Alberton still not doing anything, just happy as a clam, running for 260 with his permanent train. GT gets that upgrade we were talking about, and now the map has bypassed Belfast, running for 470, paying it. Murray River, 2-7 trains, and now it looks like the entire map is linked together. So, got a token in Mount Stewart. Jose is just really doing a nice job of cutting this map up, and I think that's just a function of having 4 presidencies. You're able to really control how the map and track develops. Runs for 520. Belfast branch is upgrading Mount Stewart and runs for 710 again. Summerside heading towards Alberton, but slowly, and is going to token in Georgetown. Wow, was able to get all the way over here. That's probably bad news for the Murray River, if I had to guess. Although the Murray River has a token in Mount Stewart, so it can run east from there and then kind of into the north from its home. The S is now running for 710, equaling the Belfast branch. Okay. And the Saurus running for 470, pays it out. Mount Stewart, and probably sad that it missed out on the token on Georgetown, but really still pretty good revenue at 430. So the map has really opened up. These D trains are running all over the place. This is going to be the last stock round and then the last operating set. So maybe we can start looking at who's going to win and try and call this a little bit early. It looks like the game's actually pretty close. Rebecca and Jose are separated by $9, so incredibly close actually. Rebecca has 3 shares less than Jose, so that certainly favors Jose. That's a function of Jose having 4 presidencies to Rebecca's single presidency. In terms of revenue, we've talked about the Belfast branch running for a lot. The S also runs for a lot. Rebecca has a lot more shares in that company than Jose has in the Murray River, so that may be enough to put her over in terms of the win despite her share deficit. You'd have to really go through their portfolios company by company to see who that favors, but just comparing the 2 highest revenues, Rebecca's in better shape there. The other 2 players, Ursula's by no means out of it, trailing by $200-300. Has more shares than Rebecca, but the Source and the Georgetown are running for quite a bit less than those other 2 companies. The Charlottetown is not good revenue. Decent share appreciation though. It's running much further right than anybody else. And then Pilar, despite the Union Bank, is trailing too far in shares to have much potential in this game. Doesn't have a presidency even, so I think we can write them off. But these other 3 players, a little bit too close to easily call. So let's move through this pretty quickly. Pilar buying the Summerside, high revenue makes sense. Ursula selling out of the Belfast branch. That's the company we identified as having really good revenue. Why would you sell that? and is going to buy the Summerside. I guess if you're cert locked, you got to sell something to buy something and just wanted the Summerside more than they wanted the Belfast branch. Hmm. Okay. I guess that's good news for Rebecca, though, because Rebecca can't buy the Summerside and can buy the Belfast branch. So maybe that opens up a share for her. Going to sell out pretty heavily of the Alberton, okay, and does pick up that Belfast branch. Jose, also not interested in the Alberton. Nobody's interested in this company. And he will pick up the last Summerside. So those two high value companies are sold out. Pilar, looks like they're going to use the Union Bank to pick up a share. Ursula passing because they're at their cert limit. Rebecca buying the Mount Stewart. Somehow not at her cert limit yet. Oh, that's because she sold 3 shares in the Alberton. Jose also having to sell out of the Alberton. That's a very vulnerable presidency. It may make sense to take that if you're one of these other players, bump it up against your cert limit. It will give you extra shares, obviously. Jose buying the Source, Pilar, Source, Ursula passing, Rebecca buying the Source, now at her cert limit. Jose still just inching his way out of the Alberton, actually dumps it on Pilar so that he can buy a Charlottetown. Charlottetown is running for more than the Alberton, so it makes sense. Pilar, going to buy the Mount Stewart. Ursula passing, Rebecca passing, Jose passing. Pilar looks like they're the only one taking actions and is now going to buy up a max percentage of the Alberton. So that works out pretty well for her. Now has 22 shares, most in the game. But I think, unfortunately, deficit is going to be too much to come back because the shares that she's bought are not really high yield shares. So even though she has a 6 share lead, 7 of those shares are Alberton, which players have basically determined are the worst shares in the game by a fair margin. Okay, so it's going to be between Rebecca and Jose here. And just looking at things in terms of the Belfast branch and the Summerside, the two highest revenues, I don't think there's tokens that are going to really be determining anything at this point. A token in source might change things up, but the Belfast branch doesn't have access to it. So nobody can token there unless these get upgraded, which may be hard to bring to pass. An Alberton link up would potentially increase revenue for players. Either company could reach it, but the Summerside operates first, does have cash for the token and the track, so Summerside should be snagging that, I think. So if we look at net worth after the stock round, Rebecca is at 3,500, Jose is at 3,500, so $6 ahead, 2 shares ahead. I guess I'm leaning towards Rebecca taking this. I think her revenue is going to be a little bit higher. So the 2 shares may not be enough to keep Jose in the lead. All right, let's move through this quick. Charlottetown upgrading peaks. Georgetown creating a bypass of Murray River and Belfast, it looks like, running for 460. Alberton, new president, but still not interested in laying track. Murray River, 2 7 trains, and maybe heading over to Source here, trying to bypass the Summerside token for the Belfast branch. What were they running for? 510. Summerside gets into Alberton, gets the token as expected, and their run is up to 920. Wow. That's a really nice run. Pays it. Saurus doing nothing, running for 460. Mount Stewart, I guess still working on trying to get into Saurus for the Belfast branch. Runs for 490 and tokens and peaks. So does a peaks token prevent the Summerside from doing stuff? It does indeed. So this is the danger for the Summerside is Jose's map presence with these two companies. So that $900 run we saw is probably not going to be lasting long. Belfast branch has exactly enough for a token, but has to lose a run to do this. That is aggressive. So Belfast branch must have not had the money for the token before they bought the train. Yeah, they were $10 short. So Jose values this token on peaks so much that they're actually going to sacrifice a run on the D train to make it happen, um, all to cut the Summerside's run. We'll have to see how much that drops the Summerside's revenue. But that is pretty painful to fall back on a company and not have a run. So this should be a pretty big difference for Rebecca here. Um, yeah, $150 difference. Not actually as much as I would have thought. Huh. So Jose fell back on a company. I guess it's because he only owns one share more of this company than Rebecca does. So in that case, it makes perfect sense to fall back on the Belfast branch, because it hurts you by a net of 10%, whereas it's going to really kill, 50% net of the Summerside for Rebecca. So that's why it's only $150 change. It's a very close game. Um, let's see how that affects the Summerside's revenue. I think we can move pretty quickly here. Let's just look at the Summerside. Summerside is working on trying to bypass peaks potentially, but it isn't quite able to make it work. So revenue drops $300 as a result of this move from Jose. Very nice. Um, and looks like the rest of the revenue is pretty much the same. Belfast branch, let's see what they're running for. Really pretty good, 620, running for more than the Summerside. Um, so if we look at the spreadsheet here, Jose is running for $68 more than Rebecca now and trails her by, um, I'm bad at math, 77. So if the differential in their earnings remains the same, he loses very narrowly. Let's just skip and see what happens. Um, looks like Jose comes out on top by $32. So very, very close game. Very nice play from Jose here on peaks. I think that probably secured him the win at the last second there. Interesting game. I think a lot of distinctions between this game and the last one we did. Um, and that's kind of the attraction of 1871 as a title, is how many different viable strategies there are and how the game develops so differently from play to play. I think the one constant here is that the Alberton seems bad. I'm going to stick to my guns on that one until someone proves me different, shows me different. Thanks for watching. We'll be doing more games in the future.